This is a finals NKFL Season 16 match between strussell and Beyjin. I am just waiting for games to kick off here, and you'll have to bear with me. This is going to be a very sloppy stream indeed. Um, I am currently moving, so between houses, and I'm doing this all from one monitor, so really hoping that things like audio and oof. Ah, already. Let's see. This monitor, hopefully, stream's coming through. Gonna have to ping some teammates here and see if anyone there can tell me whether or not it's working. This is gonna be very sloppy, but hopefully we'll have fun. All right, bear with us, folks. Still have not begun. Yeah, you know you're a professional streamer when you send your teammate a message and ask them if they could tell you whether the stream is working. But yeah, on a very different setup than usual here. Actually, strussell, who's playing in this match, and I are both visiting right now our mother. So we're at our childhood home. Uh, it's almost a shame that we couldn't play an IRL NKFL match. That would have been a really fun one to stream, but maybe we'll get some casuals on the stream at some point. So don't see their matchup yet. I believe that they are currently in um, banning, so doing banning. I have up here in Decks of Keyforge just some tags set up. I will drop them. I'll drop links to them in the recording and see if folks want to follow along. But we've got a very spicy lineup here from Beyjin. Leander, dear, well, I'm not even going to pretend to be able to pronounce some of these. So I don't know where Beyjin hails from. Certainly their decks look German to me, so perhaps a German player. strussell having a nice mix of nationalities represented here in his lineup. Some very fun decks, but very, very strong decks across the board. It'll be very interesting to see how the banning plays out. And my teammate says it is recording. So thank you, teammate. Uh, that is good. Not speaking into the void, or perhaps I am speaking into the void, or speaking to teammate and the void. Very good. But should be a very exciting match. I just played strussell in the previous round of the NKFL. Um, my first ban was G. That's All Only Dreams About Dwarves. A very, very solid deck that posed a lot of problems to my lineup particularly, but we'll see whether or not Beyjin feels the same. And apologies, Beyjin, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. You can type it somewhere and perhaps afterwards I will feel silly for having pronounced it incorrectly. But lots of very solid options here for banning. Um, I can say that I'm streaming here with a delay, so hopefully I'm not giving away too many secrets. Um, I went into my match knowing that this deck right here, Mid-Cure Bleak, Tidecrest Seamstress, is the deck that strussell would take to a Archon event, an Archon Vault Tour, if he was going to a single event, a single deck Archon event. Very, very solid deck. Not that there are any lack of solid decks across this lineup. Um, I do know that True Loser, the Enemy of Luxury, has garnered a lot of bans this season as well. Um, Less familiar with Beyjin side. Certainly there are some very sassy offerings here. Um, and SAS aside, Leander does look very strong. Double Mark of Dis. The Gravitron and Logos. Dark Harbinger. Lost in the Woods. Very, very solid. I did take a moment to look at the analysis of these two collections. So interesting, very interesting to see that Lost in the Woods was the most prevalent card across Beyjin's lineup, whereas on ST Russell's side, Infernus comes out on top with 7 copies. Um, so very Infernus, very dis heavy. We see lots of Lost in the Woods and Hallicores, interestingly enough. And then after Lost in the Woods, it does turn into more of a diverse mix. We're seeing some more kind of consistency here in the first two Infernus gateways, so you kind of get the idea of what's going on there. But cool. I actually really think that's interesting. Lost in the Woods, very cool meta call. So I'm not sure if that was intentional or if it just happened that most of Beyjin's decks featured Lost in the Woods. Okay, game 1 is up. Tenebris versus Braxis, if I got that right. We're going to hop on over there for a second in a second. So that means that I'm not 100% certain yet what our bans were, but we can say that Baxis was not banned, and Tenebris, the highest SAS deck on ST Russell's lineup, was not banned. So very cool. Let's see if we can find their game. And like a slob, I have one monitor here, so we're not going to be flipping back and forth. Just gonna hope that I can see a game show up here that I can join. Okay, good luck. Good luck to both. Though I should also say, I hope folks did not come here expecting an impartial stream. ST Russell is not only my brother, but also teammate. So there will be no partiality feigned. I'm absolutely rooting for ST Russell, though I will try to give commentary as best I can. Okay, so I'm hearing that Gerlach and G were banned. Very cool, very cool. Both of these very strong decks. G just is a vomit of enhancements. We've got the M4 Captura, the Curiosaurus, Gateways, Eaton's Jar. And Eaton's Jar was a big reason why I banned this deck as well. Against linear lineups that have pivotal cards, you don't really want to feel like you're racing Eaton's Jar and are going to lose to a high roll or just a mediocre draw where Eaton's Jar shows up among the top of the deck. That can be a very bad position to feel like you're in. And hopefully, goodness, hopefully they are not making the link private. Let's see. All right. Let's see. STR, are you here? There we are. Very good. And let's see if we can guess the password. Very good. Super secure. All right. Excellent. So, in game we have Tenebris, Shaman of the Obtuse Reef versus Baxis der Adzende. Friends are gonna have to help me out with that one. 2 Coda decks, very cool. ST Russell leads with Mother, and Beyjin comes back with a very scary triplet of untamed creatures, Murmuk, Flaxia, and Witch of the Eye. Flaxia getting full value here. ST Russell goes right back into Logos. We have to be assuming he's going to try and get rid of this Witch of the Eye, though not terribly scary yet. All we've got in this card is Key Charge, so while Witch of the Eye is a card that you do not want to allow to linger, whether or not you need to kill it on the first turn is a fine question. Okay, so we see that Witch of the Eye stays on the board. Skippy Time Hog is going to shut it down. Very nice. Mother still gaining value. And we've got 2 damage on both Witch of the Eye and Murmook. That does put them in Tendrils of Pain range, which is very nice. Poison Wave will also take them out, so they're potentially not long for this world. Naughty the Thief comes down as well, also is going to be in Poison Wave range. Wondering to see if we go Shadows here, if that was an intentional setup or more of a long-term play. Now, Tenebris is a very interesting deck. There is not tons of archiving or efficiency outside of the Mother, but what it does do is recur Drumbles and replay Drumbles, and eventually, once you've worked your way through all of that nonsense, it's going to hit you with a big Too Much to Protect. So we'll see. We'll see whether or not Baxis has anything to do with that. The Key Charge is already in discard, which is interesting. That's sort of a counter to that strategy. So we're going to wonder if that Nepenthe Seed gets us back a Key Charge at some point if it gets played. Okay, so interesting. Shark takes out the Master Plan, which was hiding a Mimicry. That is a very, very nice shark, leaving the Subtle Maul and Flaxia on board. Mother still gaining value. The Subtle Maul is activated for Beyjin, discarding a Silvertooth, it looks like. Okay. Ghostly Hand gets 2 more Amber. Umbra is played, Key of Darkness is discarded, and ST Russell makes the first key of the match, which is a blue key. Unclear why he chose blue. It is widely known that red keys win games, so I'll have to have a talk to my brother after the match about his choice of key color. And ST Russell does say that he's thinking here, very likely regretting the key color choice that he opted for. Also potentially wondering whether or not to pull archives. So we see a dis turn here. 7 is the magic number for Drumble after all. And Tenebris does feature 3 of them. So we have to wonder whether or not Drumble will come down. I have to kind of assume that we will see a Drumble here. We've seen 1 get discarded so far. Okay, and Arise gets played for Dis. We see the Schuler knocking Beyjin down to 6. A Shret down to 3. Okay, 2 Drumbles get played as well as a Shaffles, and then Control the Weak, locking Beyjin into Shadows. Shaffles then knocking Beyjin down to 2. And that is a very nice turn. Beyjin, of course, going Shadows, uses the Umbra to fight into Shaffles, uses the Maul. We discard Poison Wave, plays a Hidden Stash. Not a terrible turn after Control the Weak. And SG Russell going back into Dis. Fear sending Umbra back to hand. 4 Reaps incoming, very likely. And apologies to folks too, not using my webcam primarily because of my single monitor situation. I'm not able to very effectively monitor the streaming software and the recording area at the same time, so I wasn't going to futz around with where things were located. Okay, so Beyjin plays Fogify, no fighting for ST Russell on the next turn. Bouncing Death Turk comes down, kills Flaxia, Dysania, Mother, Charette, and Schuler and Ganymede Archivist. Okay, with Beyjin ending the turn at 9, I don't think we've yet seen our third Drumble or the TMTP. So this is a very hopeful burst here from Beyjin as we're getting towards the latter half of the deck, the latter third of the deck, excuse me, quarter. Bait and switch comes out first, then pawn sacrifice, and another just one pawn sacrifice. Okay, Miasma says you will not forge on your next turn normally. And Beyjin with his seven amber, excuse me, goes into Logos, plays Time Traveler. And we have a spectator. Welcome, Quick Draw, to the game. Hopefully I'm not making too much of a fool of myself on the stream. This would be probably the very first recording where I've gotten both the correct mic and the right recording. Okay. So we have the Nepenthe Seed on board. ST Russell gets to steal 2 with their TMTP. Beyjin makes their first key, also blue key. Interesting choice. Both players opted for blue key first. The Nepenthe Seed is looking much less promising for that key charge, although Mimicry, a very juicy target for TMTP to steal 2 back, of course will not be doing a great job of taking the opponent off check unless we also have a Marmook. One Marmook has been played, so there's still a Marmook in the field. Very possibly we'll see Nepenthe Seed get TMTP, followed up by a Marmook, and then have Beyjin hoping for the best after that. So we've already called Untamed. We're in the tank here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 untamed cards accounted for. There are 16 cards left in the deck. Cards that we have not seen yet. So there is a Marmook, a Dust Pixie, a Regrowth, Lost in the Woods, Way of the Wolf. Okay. Okay, very interesting. Beyjin in the tank here, possibly considering how to make the key a second key while taking ST Russell off check, or at least threatening to pull himself back into the game. Dust Pixie comes down, and the Marmook. Regrowth grabs Flaxia for full value. 5 amber out. Nepenthe Seed is activated to grab Mimicry. We'll see Mimicry steal 2 as a copy of TMTP, and that's a great turn. ST Russell does not get to forge. Beyjin sitting at 8 amber. ST Russell's turn to think. There is still one of the 3 Drumbles unaccounted for. 9 cards left between hand and draw pile. Looks like we have 10 Shadows cards accounted for. 5, 6, 7, 8 Logos cards. 9 discards. 9 cards from the House of Dis. So within Dis, we may see a Drumble, a Gateway to Dis. And mystery card. Let's see, Hand of Dis we've seen? No, we've not seen Hand of Dis. So we've got Grumble, Gateway to Dis, and Hand of Dis as possible things in Dis. And I believe Beyjin has not played their Lost in the Woods yet. Um, so that Drumble, while stopping the key for a turn, uh, would potentially not be around for too long. Although I'm not confident that Beyjin has a way to take ST Russell off of check at 6 in Untamed if they do play Lost in the Woods. The only other Murmook is in discard already. Mimicry has been spent. And regrowth, have we seen regrowth? We have. So there's no regrowth to reclaim the Murmook. And I have to imagine we see ST Russell thinking here, wondering if going to check at 6 is good in Dis, but perhaps not, or whether he can safely allow Beyjin to forge this key. Okay, so ST Russell going into Logos, getting to 7 Amber, playing Fogify, and passing the turn. So Beyjin gets their turn, going to Logos as well, draws with Library of Babel. Is not happy with the card that they drew, not the card I needed. They say plays Titan Mechanic, Bat Drone, and GG. So first game, game 1 to ST Russell. Good game, well played to both. Very exciting first one. Tenebris, very strong deck. No, no surprise to either of these folks. All their decks are going to be really excellent. Um, I have lost many a game to Tenebris with lots of my own Archon contenders. And yes, Beyjin saying that ST Russell's starting Logos hand was too good. Yeah, early efficiency, what little there is from Tenebris can really help to smooth out what is otherwise a potentially slower deck. And getting those Arises and Grumbles and Control the Weak and TMTP Miasmas to line up correctly can be a big factor in how strongly this deck punches. And we did see those things line up reasonably well in this game. ST Russell saying in the commentary that Skippy Timehog is surprisingly disruptive. Indeed. Indeed. Some friendly banter between the two folks here. Skippy Timehog, overpowered card. You heard it here first. Also, I think we have to acknowledge that the game was won with a forged red key. Red keys win games, folks. Forge those red keys first. Okay, on to the next game. We will watch for a new one to pop up. And once again, apologize for my very sloppy state, but that is how we do things in the sloppy labs. Okay, so at this point, both are back in their own camps, considering their next decks. So we've seen bans of G and Gerlach from ST Russell's lineup. ST Russell cannot play either of those. We don't know which deck was safed by ST Russell. In other words, for those unfamiliar, in the Nordic Hexad format, you bring 6 decks. Then there's a round of banning. You get to ban one of your opponent's decks. After that ban is complete, you get to preserve one of your decks from an opponent's future ban, and then after that, there's a final round of banning. Now, if I had to bet, I would say that this deck here, Seamstress, was ST Russell's safe, given that it wasn't one of the 2 first bans. And I would imagine that we're going to see either Seamstress or True Loser as the game 2 list from ST Russell here. I don't know which decks were banned from Beyjin's lineup, it's possible that ST Russell would have gone for some of the scaling steel, as those are typically more difficult for True Loser to deal with. Big boards can also be problematic. I do see a fair bit of scaling steel, key cheats. Those are things you typically want to avoid when facing True Loser. We may see ST Russell going for Seamstress here, hoping to close out the series in 2. From my chats with ST Russell before, I do believe that Leander was a first ban contender. I'm not sure how that played out, but I'm going to assume so. Baxis was also on his list, so we potentially this may have been a safe. I think Baxis may have been a safe, though our ban strategy, or ST Russell's ban strategy, excuse me, was a bit dependent on what came from Beyjin, and I don't know whether G or Gerlach was a first ban, so that may have dictated where ST Russell went for ban number 2. But let's see. Okay, game is up. Good luck to both. And I see an AOA icon from ST Russell, so indeed we have True Loser versus Lando der High Oberherr de Gasse. De Gasse? Folks will have to let me know how exactly that's pronounced. And this is an interesting matchup indeed. Lando has a graft, has double Ronnie. So the graft from Lando can be an interesting counter to the Brig plan in True Loser. So True Loser notably features triple binate rupture and double interdimensional graft. There is no surprise, no subtlety in the game plan here. We're looking to stall and burn our way through the deck until we can set up Brig, and then coast the gains there to victory. Now this is an interesting deck. It may not come up so much here, but when facing things like Control the Weak or Stealth Mode, True Loser is able to capture in both of its non-logos houses. So you can see charrettes, you can see Abades come down. So if you're forced into Dis or Sanctum, or you're forced to play non-actions when you're primed to play the combo, you can stall for an additional turn, take an opponent off check, and then play the combo on the next turn. Also interesting is the Neutron Shark combos really nicely with the Brig plan. Very often you will capture Amber on Charette or Abade and then blow up those creatures on your own Logos turn after Graft has been played. So very potent ability there. Also not too sad to see Dysania out first. There's not tons of archiving in True Loser, but what there is, you typically do not need to or do not wish to squander on non-combo pieces. So True Loser having the triple binate rupture, we do see one going in the bin early here. Okay, so Beyjin stealing 2 from ST Russell with Ronnie. ST Russell going into Sanctum, has an Abade to capture and take Beyjin off check. Those Abades so potent in forwarding the game plan. Just being able to capture Amber, lock it away, and release it with the Shark on your Brig turn is just very, very powerful. No surprise, Beyjin has not played their graft. And interestingly enough, the first key, again, disappointingly in blue, but the first key can be very, very important in a matchup where Brig is a big factor. with binates getting thrown around, sometimes turn after turn, and amber getting passed back and forth with graphs on both sides. Uh, it often does turn into a race where no amount of capture is going to make a difference, and lacking things such as miasma, just being able to have the first key banked once the amber starts going back and forth can be the decider. But we'll see here. Beyjin about to start their turn 5. Calls Star Alliance. Pulls Archives. Plays Captain Val Jericho. Frame. Reassembling Automaton being an excellent candidate for captured amber. And they are able to get Val Jericho into the center with Frame, Kincan, and CXO Tabor coming down. Beyjin playing Subtle Chain as their out-of-house play with Val Jericho and hits an interdimensional graft. That has to be somewhat disappointing for ST Russell, certainly for our Sloppy Lopper aligned commentator. Would have loved to see a brig come out here. And ST Russell saying, nice hit, indeed, a nice hit. And Beyjin saying, it was intended. We don't doubt it. We don't doubt it. And this may be a very, very nice hit indeed, possibly mitigating the advantage gained from forging that first key. Being able to brig here would potentially put us into an endgame state where large amber balances were getting tossed back and forth. Now we might be kind of forced to play fair for another key or two. Worth noting as well, the graft is on top of the discard pile. So if we happen to have a ZYX8 researcher, we'll safely tuck away that graft, not worrying about Dysania. And I have to say, do we have any recursion there? We do have the Kaimor, and Dysania has been placed on a flank. Strussell thinking, perhaps wondering whether to push in Sanctum. We haven't seen much dis yet. We could see a Charette, could see a Shaffles. This deck featuring a nice Legacy Shaffles. And of course, Shaffles played on the outside of Titan Mechanic would take Beyjin off check. Titan Mechanic, of course, also synergizing well with your brig plans. ST Russell deep in the tank. And we have to wonder, dear listener, whether if that first key was read, if the subtle chain would have still hit the interdimensional graft. We may not know. ST Russell going Logos. Discards Binate Rupture. So ST Russell did indeed have the combo in hand. And the Shark as well. So Shark would have been able to send that Abed Amber back over to Beyjin as we were considering before. And a possible possible inaccuracy from ST Russell that we see playing out here. They may have wanted to wait to discard the Shark until after, or excuse me, wait to discard the Binate Rupture until after Shark was finished resolving, just in case Shark ate their final Binate Rupture, and indeed it did. Now, ST Russell playing ZYX Researcher, grabbing the Binate Rupture from the top of the discard. So in Archive, ST Russell currently has a Binate Rupture, and they pass the turn, allowing Beyjin to forge at 6. Now, Shark tucked a number of cards into archives for S.T. Russell thanks to the Archimedes. Mhm. And if I were a better commentator, I would have noted them as they were happening. But instead, we're stuck here reading the logs. Love seeing the extra draw from Doom of the Martyr getting eaten by the shark. And discarded was Free Markets. Spider. Obey the Grim. Okay, so we have an Abandon Archives, a Grey Rider, so a Sanctum heavy archives it seems. And Beyjin back in shadow saying there's too much thinking already. Throws out a fair bit of steel, making some amber with Hawks. So we saw Trust No One Ronnie, not no Kymor. I'm sure they would have loved to play the Kymor here. Although S.T. Russell is threatening the final brig with that binate rupture in archives. Charette capturing three more here, excuse me, and Shriek tucked into the center of the battle line. Beyjin goes into Star Lines, plays the red alert, clears the board, drops Chief Engineer Walls to pull back and upgrade, which is going to be Force Field, and tucks that on to Chief Engineer Walls, goes to 10 with a blaster, and now we to find out if S.T. Russell has found their graft or not. Long think here, S.T. Russell goes Logos, takes the archives, hopefully remembers not to do anything before playing that binite if that is their plan. Okay, so we see a graft, but not binite. Interesting. Archives a card with ZYX Researcher. Plays Titan Mechanic on the inside. Interesting. Have to wonder why we opted not to binite and then left the Titan Mechanic not on the board. I might have liked to see the researcher get eaten by the shark first, letting Beyjin forge for 5 and sending more amber over. I have to imagine that S.T. Russell is, of course, anticipating another graft coming back here. So again, this is why he's the brother in the finals, of course. We have a graft, we have an eddy coming down, which is an interesting play. Not a bad play by any means, but does mitigate the impact of the graft somewhat. So graft transfers over, one from S.T. Russell to Beyjin. Discarding the binate was absolutely the right play, and I'm going to tell myself that if I was not yapping into the mic, it would have been obvious to me as well. Blinding Light stuns all the Logos creatures. Prince Derek comes down and is a sad prince. Abate captures 3. The Great Rider is going to allow fights between Prince Derek and Abate. And we have our 6 spectator, quite a group, a very high potency group as well. See 2 Slobby Lab workers, Hello Quick Draw, and Vilky, not tonight, Vilky. I'm in German mode with my deck names here, but also Polish, as it were. Transporter platform, uncharted lands. Oubliette purges the Grey Rider. ST Russell going back into Sanctum, very likely not wanting to allow Kirby to hang around with that cloaking dongle and transporter platform. Now, of course, Beyjin will very likely happily bounce the Ronnie. It's just a question of whether or not that is going to be too slow. Too slow for our villain. Beyjin into shadows, discards Bad Penny, reaps with Ronnie, and hawks their uncharted lands, which was unlikely to be doing very much, and plays Kymor. Okay. ST Russell starting the turn at 4, goes into Sanctum, plays Sigil of Brotherhood, is going to reap for 4, very likely, getting to 9. And will 9 be enough? We have Cutthroat. Beyjin extending a GG. And always curious whether GG is good game or good grief. If you're playing Charlie Brown, it's doubly ambiguous. ST Russell replying with a GG. I usually wait just in case. You never know. Wild wormholes do silly things on final turns. No wonderful shadow part left, says Beyjin, but we'll go into Logos, playing the Babbling Bibliophile, Sanitation Engineer, Cutthroat to steal 2, another Babbling Bibliophile, Quant, a Logos army that will likely not be sufficient. And indeed, ST Russell makes their red key and has won the second game of this NKFL finals match. And unclear whether they'll play the third game or not. I hope they do, certainly hope that they do, because this is actually some very excellent Keyforge, but I think we can now say that ST Russell is our NKFL champion. Certainly the better of the two brothers. And Beyjin saying that it was a good choice not to use the Binate. Tough combo to play around, replies ST Russell, but yeah, worried about the graft coming back. Folks, red keys win games. Sloppy lab work has proven by test that this is the case. Congratulations to ST Russell. If they do play their third game, I will happily provide some more biased commentary. But folks, I appreciate y'all coming to listen in today. Thank you for bearing with our extra sloppy stream. And if you are excellent. So they're going to play their third game. Let us see if we see ST Russell playing Seamstress, or perhaps a deck that hasn't gotten much mileage yet in this NKFL. So very cool that this is my first season, ST Russell's first season. We were both kind of brought in by our good friend and teammate, Not Tonight. And one of the things that I think we all really enjoy about the NKFL are the statistics and the deck selector tool. And I could absolutely see ST Russell choosing a deck which has not gotten many games yet this season in order to kind of fill out those statistics a little bit and get some more information against high level competition. But we'll see. He may also just go for playing Seamstress and further prove to me that I am a great fool in not banning the deck. But let us see. Available options left: Mid-turn, Blake, Tidecrest, Seamstress, and Scorpion. I believe Gerlach was banned, G was banned, True Loser has been played, Tenebris has been played. We're still unclear on the decks available to Beyjin. I'm assuming that Leander is not available, Baxis is not, Lando is not, So these three are the potential candidates. Perhaps Regentin, if we're just going to trust SAS, was the safe deck. Regentin versus Seamstress would be a very spicy match. But let us see what we have in store to finish off our popcorn. And both players are now back in that same deck selector tool, locking in their choices for this last game of what has been a very, very excellent and enjoyable season. One more plug to Team Sloppy Labwork, who had 3 players in the top 8. 3 players on the top 8 of this NKFL Top Cut final, Top Cut playoff, which is very impressive, if I have to say, as a Sloppy Lab worker, and also another player in the playoff B finals in JDG 314. So very, very cool to see. Okay, and they may have snuck into a game. They did indeed. Let us see what we have in store for Game 3. Regentin and Blake Seamstress. So the 2 decks that we hypothesized were safed are indeed being played here in the last game. Not surprised to see ST Russell. Not surprised to see ST Russell saving this deck for last, in the hopes that either Beyjin will be saving their safe deck for last and wanting something to combat it, or if it happens to be a different deck, then having a very strong contender to close out the match with. Seamstress, very unassuming deck on the surface. This is actually the first game, or one of the first games that I've seen with it, that ST Russell has not led with a turn 1 Lord Invidious. 2 Lord Invidiouses featured in this deck, as well as 2 copies of Infernus and Exhume. Not a ton of removal, at least outside of the Strange Gizmo, which can be played to great effect in this deck. In our match, I was playing a Quixelstone deck, and that also includes autoencoder, and found myself discarding lots of creatures for no value, which I'm not a uncommon not an uncommon sight in that deck, but not for the usual reasons, but because I was facing down a turn 1 Lord Invidious, which was threatening to run away from the game with the game. Beyjin here, reaping with Saurus Rex, takes Prefectus Ludo into hand and is amassing a very impressive Saurian board. And this is the sort of board where you would worry about a Lord Invidious picking off your flank creatures and converting them to the disc squad. Beyjin using Failing Strike to kill Daughter, considering whether or not to kill another creature, and we see them opting to do so and taking out Ronnie. Of course, Ronnie looking scary on a flank with Chimer Eclipse to be played. Chimer Eclipse has been played already, but there are 2 in the deck. So slightly less scary, but still you're not sad to be taking away that option. ST Russell going to Logos, Quantum Finger Trap being used to rearrange Beyjin's battle line. Some things that we may see ST Russell trying to do will be maneuvering those high amber creatures to flanks where they can be chimered away, or high value creatures to flanks where they can be chimered away. So Ludo being on a flank is a very good spot for it to be for those chimers. Okay, so we see the candle unit being fought down by Beyjin here. Of course, Saurus Rex not being in the center of the battle line to get maximum value. But Beyjin reaping 2/6 here while maintaining or managing ST Russell's board. Now we have an awful lot of amber on board here for Beyjin, but with the Ludo in play, ST Russell really hoping to get rid of that Ludo before before they make their first key and pop the strange gizmo. ST Russell thinking. Seen a decent mix of houses so far. Weighted against shadows. This deck notably featuring a copy of Too Much to Protect. So we have to look at that one archived card with some suspicion. Beyjin's deck, Regentin here. 2 copies of Infernus as well, or excuse me, of Exhume as well, and an Infernus, a Greater Oxtet for some deck crafting, 2 copies of Tribute. I don't see a great way to make use of the captured amber. No exile, you have the Scutum, so Scutum very strong, and you have the Prefectus Ludos, so we may see Beyjin trying to get rid of some of these creatures before Ludo leaves the board. We have the Neutron Shark, very nice. Neutron Shark, always a potential to get rid of that strange gizmo, which is ST Russell's sort of lifeline for mass creature removal here. Very cool. And I do love seeing Jargoggle and Neutron Shark together. It's a great way to kind of get an off-house play in a pinch. ST Russell thinking here, about to start their 5th turn. 13 cards in deck to Beyjin's 19. So despite this very scary dinosaur board here, Strussell has been digging. And let's see what they come up with. So we're going shadows. We play the Chimor, shuffling Ludo back into the deck, as well as Infernus notably from ST Russell's own side. The big pause. Big pause where you say, gosh, I wish I played that Ronnie first, but it has already been played. And Brend is discarded, Mug is played, for value. Hit and run to do 2 damage and send Simon running back and forth to the hand. Brend the Fanatic being discarded, very interesting with Gargantodon on the board. Okay, and Beyjin uses Positron Bolt to clean up SG Russell's board, as well as making a Resembling Automaton and a Dr. Millie. SG Russell going into Dis here and plays a Festering Touch, hitting Gargantodon and Saurus Rex to reclaim some amber, and now plays Infernus. Infernus will purge 2 cards here from Beyjin. Some interesting options here. It does not strike me that the Data Forge is a particular threat, but ST Russell does opt to take it, as well as a Failing Strike. We also make a Spider, an Eterome, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Y'all have to let me know. And an E on the fringes. Beyjin back into Logos, plays Titan Guardian, Group Think Tank, Neutron Shark on the outside of Titan Guardian. Very likely we'll be seeing some cards drawn, and that Shark does take care of Strange Gizmo. Not taking any chances here with ST Russell about to forge. And now Shark turns its attentions to the reassembling automaton. No surprise there. And the Shark's ability resolving again and again, leaving ST Russell with no board. And they now go back into Logos. A Wild Wormhole plays a Thorium Plasmate, which says no thank you to the Shark. And Lord Invidious is played by a second Wild Wormhole onto an empty board, which is a fine place for them to begin. And now Sanitation Engineer to keep Lord Invidious company. Both players with 1 key, ST Russell with 4 amber, then Beyjin going into Saurian, plays Ludo, plays Draco Preco, and uses Gargantodon to fight Lord Invidious, and then Tricerian Legionary to finish it off. ST Russell into Dis plays the second Lord Invidious and the redrawn Infernus, purging Neutron Shark and Exhume, and then reshuffling their deck. Beyjin still with a very impressive board here. Lord Invidious, interesting interaction with the automaton. Infernus being able to, you being able to fight the automaton wherever it be, to place it on a flank, and then grab it with Lord Invidious. And then, of course, once it is on your own side, its ability will allow you to better manage keeping Lord Invidious in the center, if that's your aim. So if it's on the left and you need 2 creatures balanced over to the right, for example, you can fight with the automaton that's on your left and not only remove it from the left, but also add a creature to your right. So really interesting interaction there. Unclear whether we'll see it play out, but a fun one to note. Beyjin thinking at the start of turn 9 here with a key, a blue key, no amber. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have not yet seen the TMTP from ST Russell. Let's see if, nope, it has not been played, discarded, and we have gone cleanly through ST Russell's deck. Beyjin going to Dis, plays Malazan, plays Obsidian Forge, and the Evil Eye. And passes the turn. Very interesting. ST Russell gets to begin their turn with Lord Invidious in the center of the battle line. Will they opt to go into Dis again? They do. Lord Invidious reaps, steals Malazan. ST Russell not tempted by cheap tricks with reassembling automaton and Lord Invidious. I would be absolutely tempted by such tricks. STRS also playing Binding Irons to give Beyjin 3 chains, opting to give Beyjin those chains rather than stealing one with E and getting to check themselves. Beyjin about to start their turn. They have 6 creatures on board, 2 amber, 4 creatures short of a key with Obsidian Forge, though interesting to note that Obsidian Forge can be used as needed on disc turns while Ludo is in play to crush any amber that you have captured on creatures. We also see Group Think Tank staring down this lineup. Group Think Tank would be able to kill Infernus and E. It would also kill Draco, do a fair bit of damage to Ludo, your Gargantodon, and kill the Legionary. Beyjin thinking here. I will say that very often players spend more time thinking at the end of their turn than the start of their turn, when really it should be the reverse. So not surprising that we see folks thinking at the start of their turn here. Fans of the hand and brain style of play will have learned the hard way, I suppose, that it really does serve you best to have a plan for your entire turn mapped out when you make a house call. There's really no going back from that once you start out, and it kind of sets the course. Beyjin saying that they're thinking an NP from ST Russell. Beyjin plays an Odoak, reaps with Pryko, is going to enrage all of the disc creatures. Very nice. That is one way to mitigate Lord Invidious for a time. And even still, we see Beyjin fighting down that Lord Invidious, fighting the Malazan, and then tributing onto Gargantodon. Beyjin opting not to perform Tribute's effect again. ST Russell very possibly considering going into Dis to fight down the Ludo and the Gargantodon, and that is what we see happening first here. So Malazan fights into Ludo, Infernus fights into Gargantodon, reclaiming the amber that was captured there. In the process, we're also chipping away at the Obsidian Forge's efficacy. I'd like to say that Obsidian Forge is an underrated key cheat, but I'm not sure that many folks do underrate it these days. It's a very potent key cheat, especially in games where your opponent is not presenting large board wipes. So ST Russell doing a decent job of managing Beyjin's battle line here and keeping that Obsidian Forge somewhat out of reach. ST Russell gets to forge a yellow key for 7 amber here. Goes back into Logos, plays a candle unit. Plays the quantum finger trap. And is very possibly considering whether to fight or reap with the sanitation engineer. Engineer, of course, has a very nice reap effect, and if you are able to discard a discard, that would trigger ease ability. ST Russell says they're thinking. Um, could also be wondering about killing that Eddy. A fight into Odoak. Odoak, potentially annoying here, but unlikely to be worth putting just 4 damage on it, unless we also have something like the Plasmate around that we've redrawn into to finish it off. Okay, so we're fighting into the Eddy, taking Eddy off the board, Beyjin going back into Logos. And possibly it would have been worth playing the candle unit on the other flank from ST Russell, just to avoid groupthink tank. Positron Bolt takes care of Sanitation Engineer and E on the fringes. Info Exchange seals 1, taking Beyjin to 9. And I have to imagine that we're going to see the TMTP here. Maybe not. I don't think we've seen it yet this game from ST Russell. Allowing Beyjin to forge 4/6 with 9 Ember. 1 card in Archives. It's starting to feel a little suspect with Obsidian Forge in play. But we will see. And ST Russell thinking with 8 cards in hand. No Shadows cards in discard. Very possibly, they're wondering what they have to pair with the TMTP. Ronnie coming down for second is great. Brend coming down first is great. We have a chain gang. Subtle chain is going to give us some information. So we are discarding Tricerian Legionary. And we fight Odoak, which of course we have to kill before the TMTP is played. Inky Gloom. Okay, so perhaps not able to kill the Odoak. I was anticipating a Chimor Eclipse. I was anticipating a Chimor Eclipse to take care of the Odoak first, but alas, no. TMTP gets played just for funsies. And Beyjin going into Sorium says Inky Gloom did not read it. Asking for a house change. And SG Russell says sure. And that they wish to keep their card archived. We are certainly in friendly territory here. There's obviously no way for ST Russell to know that the right card would go back, but Beyjin, being a good sport, saying they'll keep their archive card even though it's likely a Saurian card, not a Logos card. Beyjin playing an Infernus from underneath Jar Goggle. Opts to purge opponent's cards from discard. Takes a Subtle Chain and an Infernus. Very often we do see those Infernuses purging each other to try and get Infernus dominance, Infernus advantage. Okay, ST Russell bursting 2/6 here while knocking down something of Beyjin's battle line. Beyjin sitting at 4 creatures, 2 amber, plays their tribute, loading up onto Think Tank. Reaps with Draco Pryco and ranges the Logos creatures. Plays Saurus Rex, plays Orator Hisaro, Reaps with Saurus Rex and Infernus to get to 6 themselves. And now we have Beyjin on check for key 3 for the red key in this match. Oh no, excuse me. Whoa, look at this. We missed it, folks. Beyjin forged their red key second. That did not bode well for ST Russell, and we missed it. But ST Russell going this here and exhumes an E on the fringes. Discards Festering Touch, 2 steal, and Purge Malazan. Discards Spider, 2 steal, and Purge a Spider. Discards Lord Invidious, 2 steal another. Plays an Infernus, chooses to purge opponent's cards, takes Beyjin down to 1, and passes on check at 6. Beyjin with 1 amber, 6 creatures in play, goes dis, can reap to 2 on board, so we're representing ourselves at needing 4 more creatures and or amber. 2 creatures played, 3 creatures played, 1 more creature or amber would do it. There's an evil eye for a pip. Misery exploit should not matter. We have 3 amber and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 creatures in play. Should be exactly enough to forge. Excuse me, key cost of 9? From the evil eye. I think that was a missed win from Beyjin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 amber, 9 creatures on board. Key cost of 6. Yeah, I think that was an Obsidian Forge key that we opted not to take. Unless I was missing something. I was missing something. The assembling automaton would not be destroyed. That would have been an epic, an epic fail, as it were. So the reassembling automaton would replace its own destruction and would not count towards the total for Obsidian Forge. Meaning that Beyjin unfortunately was 1 short. We see Ronnie get played twice thanks to hit and run, then shuffled back with Kaimor as well as 3 other creatures from various flanks. Leaving ST Russell at 8. Beyjin at 1 amber, back into dis. Beyjin reaping with the Oxtet and Infernus. Plays Malazan. Now we do have 3 amber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, an amber from Exhume and a creature. Now, unless I'm missing another replacement effect for destruction, I think that will be sufficient 4 amber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Beyjin saying that should do it. ST Russell saying, yep, seems good. And Beyjin making their yellow key. Though, of course, we have to note that the player who forged the red key won the game. Well played to both. Beyjin saying Argentin did not let them down. Excellent season for ST Russell. Excellent match from these two competitors. Thank you all peeps for watching our very sloppy stream. Hope you enjoyed it. I had fun. Hope you had fun. We will see you around for season 17.